Hey, what's good, guys? It's your boy Tacho here, and we're back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. Alright, so I actually wanted to record this video the other day, but, we had a lot going on, me personally. We had the update for Monster Hunter finally drop, and Fatalis is in the game. So I was just hunting that guy all night, basically, and I didn't really have time to record this. But this video that we're about to do is actually a request that I had. And they wanted me to go ahead and do a tier list for the duo skills that we have in the game. And I thought, why not? That's actually not a bad idea for a video, so let's actually go ahead and get that done. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a tier list for all the duo skills in the game. And we're not going to be looking at any of the other facets to these characters. We're just going to be looking at the duo skill and only the duo skill. So ignore anything else, like the fact that maybe Hector is effective against armor, or Sigurd is a dancer, or anything like that. We're not going to be looking at that specifically, just the duo skills. So we're going to be ranking the duo skills on this tier list here. And right before we put the units onto the tier list, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what their duo skills actually do. Alright, so we're going to start things off with the duo Alphonse. And if we take a look over here, Alphonse's duo skill is going to grant special cooldown count -2 to unit and infantry allies within 3 rows and 3 columns centered on them. So a pretty decent area of effect. 3x3, definitely not too hard to activate. And -2 cooldown count. Any effect in this game that has special cooldown reduction is a very powerful effect. Most of the damage that you can deal with your attacks is coming from special attacks, if you have a turn where they're active. And when you combo this with stuff like Special Spiral or Gale Force or things like that, this unit really comes into their own, and this duo skill is still one of the most powerful duo skills in the game, despite them being a relatively old unit compared to some of the other guys on this list. The only downside I can really say about this duo skill is that, first of all, it's infantry locked, which isn't even the biggest deal. But it's really rare for there to be cooldown reduction skills for the other movement types. Of course, we have Infantry Pulse, which is the easiest way to do it, but that's already infantry only. So if this was not movement restricted, I think this would have been way better, possibly even the best duo skill in the game at that point. But because it has that infantry ally restriction, it does lose a little bit of utility there. The only other way I can think of, though, to get -2 cooldown count on any movement type is to support the ally with Valoria and have her weapon actually do it for them. But Valoria is also a 5-star locked unit, so it's not too easy to come by her. And Valoria only does this for herself and the support ally, whereas Alphonse could potentially give this effect to your entire team, depending on whether or not they're actually within the area of effect. So very powerful stuff, and one of the most powerful and offensive duo skills in the game. So we're going to go ahead and put Alphonse in the A tier. Okay, so next up, we're going to take a look at the duo Alm. So this duo skill is going to recover 30 HP, it's going to neutralize penalty, and it's going to grant attack and speed +6 to unit and allies within 5 rows and 5 columns centered on them for 1 turn. So penalties, that includes anything that may reduce your stat points or any negative status effects like panic or guard or gravity or anything like that. So it's real nice to be able to recover from that on the turn. And the HP heal is also super clutch, especially if you're using a bait unit in Aether Raids or something like that, and they've been taking some heavy fire and you want to just get some HP back. This is a nice way to do it. Also, if you would have wanted to heal and also remove penalties, the only other way to do that would be to have a staff unit with Restore. But if they use Restore on the turn, that's going to take up their action. So if you also needed them to attack on the turn, then you're going to be a little bit out of luck in that regard. So this is definitely one of the better utility duo skills in the game. I actually really like this duo skill a lot in the modes with the giant maps. So stuff like Grand Conquests and Rival Domains, where it's real easy to have a bunch of units in the 5x5 space. I think this duo skill really shines in those modes. But of course, like we said before, it's very good in Aether Raids as well. And also the attack and speed up 6, I didn't really talk about that too much, but it is a nice little throw-in on top of the healing and the removal of penalties, which I think is pretty much the main takeaway from this duo skill. But overall, very good stuff, and I am going to place them in the B tier. So not quite as powerful of a duo skill as Alphonse is, because of course, like I said before, special cooldown reduction is like one of the most powerful effects in the game. But the recovery and the removal of status effects, definitely a very useful thing to have. Okay, next up we have the Duo Byleth. So this duo skill is going to grant Desperation to unit and allies within 2 spaces. And this is also the first reusable duo skill on the list. At the start of every 3rd turn, if they've used their duo skill, they can go ahead and use it again. So reusable duo skills, very powerful stuff. And you wouldn't have to wait on Duo's Indulgence if you're playing them in Aether Raids to go ahead and get a second use out of their duo skill. So not bad. And the Desperation effect that they grant also has no HP restrictions on it. So typically, Desperation, you gotta be below 75% HP for it to work. But that's not the case at all with this duo skill. You're just granted Desperation for free, and any of your units are gonna be able to attack the foes twice in a row, possibly 4 times in a row if they have a weapon that allows for quadding. So this is a very offensive duo skill, and you can definitely go for some one-turn clears with this if you have the right units to do it. It's also really good for Gale Forcing. If you have a unit with maybe Flashing Blade or Heavy Blade, and then their weapon has -1 special trigger, they can just go ahead and attack the foes twice in a row and instantly ramp right into Gale Force. So this duo skill has some crazy offensive potential, and it's one of the more powerful player phase duo skills. So we're going to go ahead and put them in the A tier alongside Alphonse. I do actually feel like Alphonse or Byleth have the best duo skill in the game. Of course, besides a certain someone that I'm sure you guys already know who it is. But we're going to be talking about them in just a minute. So our next duo unit is going to be Ephraim. So Duo Ephraim is going to grant infantry and armored allies within 2 spaces of them, including themselves, 1 extra movement for that turn. So this is really nice. Of course, armored units being locked to 1 range movement is very bad, and that's the reason why a lot of people hate running armored units. So giving them 1 extra movement space for a turn is very nice. But this kind of got devalued because Armor March recently became a Sacred Seal. So it's not too hard actually to get 2 range movement out of your armored units. And the movement bonus also does not stack, unfortunately. So if you've got Armor March on the team, then it's not like you're going to be able to move 3 spaces in a turn with your armored units. Imagine how crazy that would be if you could move 3 spaces with someone like, I don't know, Valentine Faye with like Bold Fighter and Brave Bow or something. But infantry units also benefit from this movement bonus, and being able to move 3 spaces in a turn with infantry is very useful. A lot of infantry units in the game are very good at using Gale Force. So with this duo skill in effect, they can move 3 spaces and possibly avoid stepping on a trap in Aether Raids if you're running them in there. They can also pull some hit and run tactics too if they move in 3 spaces and get an attack off and then activate Gale Force. They can move 3 spaces out of the way. So pretty nice utility effect for infantry. But I would say the main downside to this duo skill is that it's not reusable. So you can only use this 1 time per battle, unless of course you have the duo's Indulgence structure in play. So for a utility duo skill like this to only be usable 1 time in a fight, definitely hurts it a bit. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put them in the D tier for their duo skill. Definitely a little bit harsh, but that's just how the cookie crumbles for them. They were the 2nd released duo hero in the games, so it's a little unreasonable to expect their duo skill to just hold up for the rest of the game. Alright, next up we have Duo Hector. So this guy was actually the first duo unit ever released in the game, and his duo skill is going to deal 20 damage to the foes within 3 columns centered on him. So 20 damage is 20 damage. Free damage, you never argue with that. It's pretty much the only reason why a unit like Surtur can still actually have some good utility. Lowering the foe's HP by 20 is definitely a powerful effect to have. And there's a lot of units that can benefit from this, like, for example, Crania, who a lot of people like to pair up with this Hector. She gains the Vantage effect if the foes are not on full HP. So you can go for some Vantage clearing strats with Crania if you have this duo skill in play. But being the first release duo hero, of course this guy's duo skill didn't really hold up all that well. It's not reusable, so you only get to use this once in a fight. And the area of effect isn't even the best. 3 columns centered on Hector. While there's a lot of maps where the foes are going to spawn on the top, and also in Aether Raids they always spawn at the top, there's still quite a few maps in Arena and Arena Assault where the foes are going to spawn on either the left-hand or the right-hand corner of the screen, and they're not going to directly line up with Hector. So it can be very tricky using his duo skill on maps like that. And also if you're using this in Aether Raids, you got to watch out, because if the foes have the healing tower, they could just recover all this HP in one turn pretty much. So you're going to need to work fast if you're using this guy in Aether Raids if you want to really make full use out of that 20 damage. So maybe not the most well-aged duo skill in the game, but it's definitely still not too bad. Like I said, 20 damage is still 20 damage. So we're going to go ahead and put him in the C tier. Okay, so our next duo unit is going to be Duo Idun. Alright, this unit is one of the ones that I actually regret not summoning for on her release. Mainly because, for me, this would have been a super good duo skill to have. Of course, I gotta do showcases for a lot of units, and if I had access to this duo skill, I can tell you right now, a lot of those armor and dragon units that I showcased would have looked a whole lot better with this. So this duo skill is going to grant defense and res +6, and the following status effect to unit and allies within 5 rows and 5 columns centered on them for 1 turn. And that effect is going to neutralize effective against dragons and effective against armor bonuses. Very powerful stuff. Of course, effective against dragons and effective against armors are the 2 most common types of bonus damage in the game. And a lot of the best tanks in the game theoretically should be armors and dragons, because they have such high defense and res base stats. But because they have to deal with all this effective damage, they really don't look that impressive on defense a lot of the times. So having this duo skill would just be an instant fix for all of those units. And a lot of people actually have built up dragons, like Naui and Fa were both day 1 released units, and they had the trainee BST bonus. So a lot of people went ahead and got them to +10 and really invested in them. But a little old unit named Thrasir had to come out and pretty much just rained on their parade in Aether Raids and made them go extinct. But if you have this duo skill from Idun, you can pretty much fix that, and Thrasir is not going to be a big problem for you anymore. So definitely a very powerful utility-based duo skill that they have. And also in arena mode, effective against armor is just everywhere. So being able to remove that is going to make your armored units look a whole lot better. Especially a unit like Brave Edelgard. Like, can you imagine? How do you kill Brave Edelgard if you can't deal effective damage to her? Like, it gets pretty nuts at that point. So definitely a great duo skill, and definitely one of the better utility options on this list. So we're going to go ahead and put them in the B tier alongside Alm. Both of their duo skills are very nice utility if you're using bait units, but I would still give a slight edge to the more offensive-based duo skills. Okay, moving on. Our next duo unit is going to be the Duo Marth. So this guy might just be the rarest duo unit in the game. I mean, I'm in tier 21 basically every single season for Arena, and I'm looking at fights that score 756, 758, and 760 and plus sometimes, and I rarely ever see this guy. He's definitely got to be the most scarce duo hero in the game. I'm not really sure why too many people didn't summon on him, but I guess it is what it is. So his duo skill is going to grant all stats +3 and bonus doubler to armored and flying allies within 3 rows centered on him. So pretty solid area of effect. And of course, being able to grant bonus doubler to armor and flying types is very good. They're not allowed to normally inherit bonus doubler, so if you can just give it to them for free like this, then it's very powerful. Also, the all stats +3 on the house at that point. But if you are going to be using bonus doubler, you want to try to get higher stat bonuses like +6 to all stats from maybe the tactic skills or something. So I wouldn't worry too much about the all stats plus 3. It's nice as a throw-in, like I said, if you have no other way to gain stat bonuses on that turn. But if you are using bonus doubler, you're going to want to try to get that to happen. But I think what really hurts this guy the most is that we have legendary Eliwood in the game, and he's probably the best way to grant bonus doubler to other allies. He's also not movement locked, like this duo skill is locked to armor and flying, whereas Eliwood is not locked to anything. It doesn't matter if you're infantry or cavalry either. He can go ahead and give them bonus doubler as well. And the only condition with him is that the unit needs to have the highest attack on the team, which is most likely going to be the case. If you're using bonus doubler on that unit anyway, you've probably just turned them into a giant stat ball and you've dumped a whole bunch of investment into them. So it's likely that they're going to have the highest attack anyway. And the real nail in the coffin is that Eliwood can do it on every single turn, whereas this duo skill is unreusable, and unless you have Duo's Indulgence, you can only use this one time in a fight. So unfortunately for Duo Marth, I have to say, his duo skill kind of got power crept way before it even released. If I'm not mistaken, that legendary Eliwood came out before this guy. So a little bit sucky for Duo Marth, but I mean, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So we're going to go ahead and put him in the C tier alongside Hector. Mainly because both of these units, their duo skills can still be very good. It's just that there's a lot of downsides to them, and you may not want to be using them all that much anymore. So that's why they're in the C tier. But okay, here we go. We have Micaiah up next, and I mean, do I even really need to explain this one? This is by far, the most broken duo skill in the entire game. And the most broken thing in the entire game, just period. Duo skill or otherwise. And I would never say this about any other unit, but I feel like this is a must-have unit. If you don't have them, whenever they show up again, you probably would be in your best interest to try and get a copy of them. It's just way too game-breaking. And you guys know this if you've watched some of my other videos. I was getting one-turn clears on Abyssal maps. Abyssal maps, of all things, the hardest content in the game. You can just kill them in one turn if you have this duo skill. So, Micaiah's duo skill grants dominance to unit and allies within 3 columns centered on them, and it's going to inflict defense and res -7 on the foes within 3 columns centered on them for their next actions. So this part right here doesn't seem all that busted. It's just you gaining dominance and then -7 to defense and res on the foes. But what dominance does is it's going to deal additional damage equal to the total penalties on the foe for 1 turn. Now, just immediately, what does this sound like? A Broadleaf Fan, right? One of the most powerful seasonal locked weapons in the entire game. You're pretty much gaining that as a passive effect. But it doesn't even end there. So, not only is it the Broadleaf Fan effect, but it's Broadleaf Fan, like, on steroids, because it's not adding to your attack. Broadleaf Fan will add to your attack based on the total penalties on the foe, similar to how a Blade Tome will add to your attack based on the total bonuses your unit has. But no, that's not how dominance works. You're gaining true damage based on the penalties that the foes have. Like, I can't even imagine what they were thinking when they balanced this unit. Like, did they think true damage was going to be okay for this? You can actually get kills on +10 level 40s with a level 1 unit that has a brave weapon if they attack twice in a row, and let's say the foes have -7 to all stats. That's basically +28 damage, and then with a brave attack you hit them twice in a row, so that's 56 damage at that point, and that's true damage, so they can't do anything to stop that. No matter how high their defense or res is, it doesn't matter. And most units are lucky to even get to 56 HP, so you can pretty much just chalk it up as an instant kill. Making this duo skill, in other words, the I win button for a turn, pretty much. It's powerful everywhere. Aether Raids, Abyssal maps, Arena, doesn't matter. This is the most powerful skill in the game. And it definitely stands a cut above the other duo skills because it has utility on both phases. If you've got Vantage units, for example, like, Vantage units get so over the top when they have dominance particularly Altina and Legendary Leaf, because they have Vantage Brave attacking, so they're hitting the foes twice in a row, and then they're gaining all this true damage. It's just nuts. This duo skill is just way too much. They need to be in their own tier. Like, I don't think anyone is going to argue with that. So, congratulations, Micaiah. You are the best. Alright, next up we have the Duo Pala. So, this is actually probably my favorite duo unit to actually use, because they're so much fun. But their duo skill is going to grant them and any adjacent flying allies 1 extra movement space for that turn. And this is also a reusable duo skill, so at the start of odd number turns, if you've used their duo skill already, you can go ahead and use it again. So that's very nice. Any reusable duo skill is going to be very clutch. And this is the most reusable duo skill out of all of them, being every odd number turns. That's pretty easy to activate even after you've used it once. So definitely good stuff there. And granting flying allies 1 extra movement space is so powerful. Like, we've already seen on Ephraim that 1 extra movement for infantry is pretty good. But this duo skill just takes everything about that Ephraim and makes it better. So flying allies already the best movement type in the game, because they can avoid any obstacles or mountains or whatever and just fly right over it. So when you can move 3 spaces with flying units, it's so insanely powerful. Just ask Tibarn, he'll tell you all about that. And unlike Ephraim, this can also be used more than once. So if you're trying to use like flying units for gale forcing or hit and run tactics or whatever, this is one of the better duo skills in the game for utility. So we're going to go ahead and place them in the B tier alongside Idun and Alm. And last but not least, we have the Duo Sigurd. So this is the most recently released duo unit, and their duo skill is going to pretty much provide a reposition effect to any adjacent allies, which is pretty cool because even if you had reposition as an assist, it's not like you'd be able to use it on every adjacent ally at once. You'd only be able to target 1 ally per turn. And of course, unlike reposition the assist, you can use this duo skill and it's not going to take up your action for the turn. The only other unit that can do that is Legendary Crom with To Change Fate. So definitely a very good utility duo skill. And just like Pala, it's a reusable duo skill, so you can use it on every odd numbered turn. Very nice stuff. I've been getting a lot of mileage out of this duo skill in Aether Raids, actually. Like, I've been coming up with some crazy big brain moves to go for some either hit and run tactics or 1-turn clears with this. It's really nice for avoiding traps and just getting your units where they need to be. So you get a ton of movement utility out of this. But if you look at it just at face value, it's not really all that powerful. And that is what we're doing here. We're just looking at the duo skill itself and none of the other attributes of the character. So what makes this a good duo skill on Sigurd is that they're also a dancing unit. But we're going to have to ignore that for now, and we're just looking at the duo skill itself. And on paper, it's not really all that powerful. So we do actually have to go ahead and put him in the bottom tier alongside Ephraim. Don't get me wrong though, his duo skill is very good when you take into account all the other aspects of him as a unit. But this is a tier list just ranking the duo skills alone. And because of that, I have to put him in the D tier. So that's going to wrap us up for the tier list for the duo skills. I mean, to no one's surprise, I think the top 3 would have been pretty obvious. Let me know in the comments section, actually, guys, what you think about the duo units, and if you were making a tier list for the duo units yourself, where would you have them ranked? I'm definitely interested to see what you guys have to say about this. But anyway, that's all for today. So this is your boy Tacho signing out. Thanks so much to everyone for watching the video, and I will catch you guys again on the flip side.